Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
I am Carol Messer, along with David Gura. Let's get a check on some of the stocks on the move. Bloomberg News senior reporter and deputy team leader for U.S. equities, Jess Menton, here with us. In a market where there feels like it's running out of a little bit of steam, we do have some that have really outperformed today.
Yes. So going to point out to the best performer in the S&P 500. So JB Hunt, the ticker is JBHT. So this is important because not only is it a trucking and logistics company, but it's a bellwether for the U.S. freight market. So it's up almost 22%. So on pace for its best day since January of 1998. So that's some big size and scope there. So it's its biggest
98
drop. Yes,
I don't even know. What were you
almost
doing?
30
what were
years
you
ago.
Doing? That's a long time.
I was alive then, believe it or not.
Oh, there you go.
I know you always try to ask me that question. You did this one time when we were co-hosting together.
For the record.
I was
She was.
probably almost in middle school.
Were you really?
Yeah. I think, surprise, surprise.
Still a kid.
Silently sip my water.
Yeah, shut up over I want to put in context, though. So this stock, even though really big size and scope there, still down 19% year to date through yesterday's close. So if you look at today's gains, it still puts it down just roughly close to about 2% for this year. So really on the back of better than expected quarterly results, also some cost controls there that are boosting that. So that's important too.
They've had some excess capacity. They've been really working off over the last couple of years.
And the big thing is, and to your point, Carol, back in January, they had actually warned that this could be another year where they lose as far as what had happened with cargo. And basically, it actually broke with this tradition of giving that forward guidance at the beginning of the year. So it was saying that analysts need to bring down some of those earnings estimates. But the fact that you have a bellwether like this, a few quarters later coming in better than expected, that's helpful for the market. So if you look over at some of its peers, whether it's Schneider National, Warner Enterprises, Knight Swift, you're seeing all those stocks taking a boost here today.
1998, I was not quite yet at Bloomberg, but I was almost at Bloomberg.
There you go. Middle school. Middle school.
Love you, David. All right, where do we go next?
So I'm going to look on the other side of things here with the MOV function in the terminal. And so looking at HPE here, so Hewlett Packard Enterprises, the ticker is HPE if you look at this stock, and how it's moving today, down almost 10%, so on pace for its worst day since April 3rd. So of course, this is one of the largest makers of computer equipment. So looking at this, unfortunately, its annual profit forecast misestimates is having an issue with some of that margin crunch. Also, the stock had gained about 17% year to date through yesterday's close. So still, when you're comparing that to some of its peers, still better than expected. But also, if you're looking at the industry group, where it houses a lot of those technology hardware and storage companies today.
It had a margin crunch with the AI spend?
Even despite some of that. So it is interesting because, unfortunately, it's underwhelming guidance for the fiscal year that is for basically the end of next October. So its adjusted earnings per share, it was expecting it to come in between about $2.20 and $2.40. So the analyst consensus estimate was closer toward the high end of that range, but its revenue growth range was between 5 and 10%. So analysts had actually anticipated more than that, closer to 17%. So that's why you're seeing some of those shares pressured there. But if you're looking at some of its industry peers and how they're performing in the sub-industry group, in the S&P 500, that group's down about 1% right now.
Still going through some growing pains with that merger with Juniper Networks as well, I think, figuring out how to align both those companies together.
And then, of course, also one of the worst performers, though, in the S&P 500 is 5 Inc. FFIV is the ticker on there. I was just going to quickly point that out just because that's down 11% today. So if you look over the last 2 days, especially on the back of what it was talking about, where it did warn about the catastrophic hacks yesterday.
Oh, right. That's right.
Actually, that stock's down close to 15% over the last 2 trading sessions. So that would be its worst 2-day span since April of 2022. So that was just some quickly size and scope for another underperformer here today.
It's become an ugly chart.
Yes.
It is.
Micron?
Yes, Micron. So I wanted to look at some other potential bright spots, though, even though I got through some of the underperformers here. So Micron Technology, MU is the ticker, up about 5% on pace for its best day since not that long ago, October 13th. If you're looking at that, though, in the NASDAQ 100 in the MOV function, that is the best performer in that index. And so UBS actually raised its price target. So it said that Micron will get a boost from its memory chip storage. Of course, that's really important when you're thinking about chip makers. Obviously, this is on the memory side. side. So a little bit different than what obviously NVIDIA is doing. But this stock actually had already surged around 140% this year. So it was well over 100% gains year to date, even before this upgrade came out. And so then you have Citi research analyst Christopher Danley. He actually still sees more gains in sight despite what this stock has done. So not surprisingly on high AI demand. So you're still seeing some bullish targets there. And then the SOX, though, not really doing a whole lot, even though it houses some other tickers like NVIDIA in there and Intel, but still nonetheless, you're seeing Micron Technology.
SOX is up almost 40% year to date.
Yeah.
I mean, that my whole
it's been quite a run for the SOX.
in those names. Jess, thanks so much. Bloomberg News senior reporter and deputy team leader for U.S. Equities, Jess Metton, right here in studio.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.